All right. So first, as you can see, we have a custom box. It's got our logo on it. Just plain brown box. It says Puget Systems. Otherwise, the retail box I think is black and white and shows all the retail related stuff. I think one of the interesting points on the retail box is it clearly states on there that this is like for advanced system builders. And I suppose that applies to like any small form factor case, but it definitely applies to this particular chassis. So, oops, let's. All right. Little bag of accessories. It's got the little rubber feet, the screws, some bracketry, and things like that. Little foam bits for the slot loading drive, screwdriver. First thing I want to point out on the retail version of this, it says Silverstone on the grill. Since we buy a lot of these, we have, like I said, we have custom run of these. They give us a blank grill. And so this is what I was getting at before about the smaller panel on the side. Gives you kind of an access to your video cards and any other PCI cards that you got installed here without actually having to open the whole thing. But say you want to get at your CPU cooler or anything else on this side of the chassis, you're going to have to come through here. Here's that 3/4 panel, right? And it's pretty, like I was saying, it's pretty flimsy, or I don't know, it's just bendy and doesn't feel very sturdy. And again, I don't know if this is going to focus quite right, but these tabs all along the edge here, and especially these ones, they're not long enough. They barely hold onto the edge of the frame. And actually, when I go to put this thing back together, this particular edge likes to not grab on and will pop off really, like, almost every time. I'm going to need these screws to show you about the Platter drive mounting. Another thing that's a little different from the retail version is there's no fan here, because we were always just taking it out and tossing them aside anyway. So let's get on to what I was talking about, the Platter drive mounting. In the Puget Systems edition of this, we have a custom bracket here. They've made it a little taller for us so that we can mount, I think it's like the 10 terabyte golds have a different mounting than like your standard drives. They're kind of more like for rack mounts and stuff. So it's basically they gave us these extra holes across the top to mount those. All right, so you can see here the SSD brackets. Pop this guy where it's supposed to go with the little rubber bumpers. All right. So now we have our drive, we have our Platter drive installed, and that's all the space there is between a Platter drive and an SSD, and there's barely enough room, barely. I think the safest way to mount one of these would be to actually have the drive attached to this plate, plug in your power and data plugs, and then attach the plate to the chassis. Trying to plug anything in while it's mounted like it is now, you run a real high risk of snapping the tabs, the plugs here on the drives. It's way too close, and realistically, having put a bunch of these together so far, I feel like it would be near impossible to actually fully load this up with 2 Platter drives and 4 SSDs. I think I've done that once, and it's insane. The amount of space that you have is difficult. You got to be real creative with your wiring in this case. Another thing to note as well, the top fan comes as an intake by default, which doesn't make sense. When you flip this over and have it set as an exhaust, you actually get better temperatures than just trying to exhaust out the little guy in the back. That's kind of a minor thing. Like from a build standpoint, that doesn't really affect my thoughts on the build or on this chassis, but it's just something to make note of. Yeah, overall, I'm really not happy with this chassis at all.